All right. Is my screen live? Yeah, it's live. All right, cool. Futures, nothing much there. Yesterday we knew it was going to be range bound, and it is range bound. And the exact range was pretty much this 10 points. Uh, we knew kind of this would be the top, give or take, and this would be the bottom, give or take, right? So that's exactly where, and then that's exactly the range that it's stuck with. So yeah, so expecting nothing more than that for now. I believe at the max, I think it should go down to its, you know, if it breaks here at the 21, I think it should push down into this number again, 41.7150 EMA. And if that breaks, we'll look for a hit of. Who is that?
Who the fuck is
Jesus.
that? George, is that you? Yeah, it's George.
Yeah.
There's
All right.
George.
Cool. So yeah, let's get this right here, and then after that we will reassess the situation. 41.76 breaks, and most likely we're looking for 41.71, and probably 41.69. This is it. This should be the range within which it should travel. Not looking for a break above or below that range for now until FOMC. Post FOMC, we will figure out how to deal with that, or rather at FOMC. Uh, so let's see. The range that I want to be trading with is to the upside, and I believe there is upside. This should be my base case, 4209 to the upside, and that will happen. So the base case to the upside right now is this 4185. Should that clear, we are looking for a hit of 4209. And this is a very real possibility today, 4280 all the way through 4300. This is a very real possibility post FOMC. To the downside, again, we could, if it starts a push down, then it might come into this number first, which is the mean. Let's put up this number here, right here. 4154 is to the downside. This is the base case to the downside, 4159 or whatever this number on the on the monthly mean is. This is the first case to the downside. If that breaks, then we're looking for 4109. Not in a straight line, but let's go look at the weekly. Yeah, so if that breaks, no, 4159 breaks, then we are looking for 4122. Should that break, we are looking for the lows from yesterday or day before, 4050, then a push back into this number 4028, which is the 100 on the weekly. So this is the trajectory that it's going to go down. Right as of now, I'm not really looking at 4028. Rather, I would be looking at 4156, and then 4111 or 4120, uh, the 4110 to 4120 a range. Then, if that breaks, then we're looking for a push into the lows from the before yesterday, 4060. 4100 would act as some sort of a psych level, support level, but there is no real support there. There's nothing that is saying that 4100 is a real support level. Uh, yeah, there's about 40, 90 or something like that, but still, we will reassess that situation after FOMC. Right now, not looking at that at all. Right now, we are looking for a push into, most likely, this is the regular charting stuff. A mean is the mean is on the mean on the monthly is sitting at 4157. So that would be my base case to the downside. Should that clear, we're looking for a push into, most likely, right about here, the previous day's lows, 4134, and should that break 4100. So nothing beyond that as of now. But 4130, so this is a real number. 400, sorry, 4,000 on SPX is a real number. And there is a very good chance that it will happen to the downside. And 4,300 to the upside, this is a very real chance that it will happen. Depends on how FOMC goes, and not even FOMC. At this point, we know 50 bips is what it's going to be from FOMC. But market being market, people being people, if the institution starts to buy or the short covering starts to happen, 4,300 will be flash, and vice versa to the downside. If it breaks 4,000, or rather, if it breaks the mean and start to push down, then 4,000 will happen in a flash. As of now, not plotting any of this stuff. So the range 4,300 to 4,000, that's the 300-point range. That is very doable at this moment. The way the market is, it is very doable, but not really plotting any of those numbers right now. Right now, this will be a chop till FOMC. And closer to FOMC, we will look into getting some, taking some position and whatnot. And this is just another volatile day. This would play out just to be another volatile day. There's nothing special about any of this stuff. So don't make a big deal out of it. FOMC, this, that, and the other. It's just another volatile day. Last week has been very volatile, probably the most volatile that I have seen in a year. Up, down, 100 points a day swings, or better than 100 points swings. So that's crazy. That's crazy. But anyway, so we dealt with that. We'll deal with this one as well. So we'll make. I'm pretty sure we'll make a bit of money on this, but nothing special about anything. Treat this as just another volatile day. That's pretty much it. And you are prepared because this is a volatile day. All right, now let's get into Apple. This is the thing that I'll be watching all throughout the day, uh, just to make sure which way the market is pushing and whatnot. Right now, seems like we're gonna go hit this 200 number, 159.21, and most likely a bounce there. And if, of course, it will be an ephemeral bounce, the way things are looking, but don't want to say it right now as an ephemeral bounce because FOMC day, people go crazy about it. But 159.20 will happen and we'll reassess the situation and towards 158.87. That's how I'm leaning on this. This is where it is showing up as some sort of solid support, 159, around 159 area. So let's look for that. And the 1 hour, again, this will be range bound till we get to FOMC, and this will be a big, major deciding factor which way the markets would lean. As of now, the mean is sitting. It is sitting at its 8, and I'm expecting it to come back below its 8, test its 50, again bounce, again bounce, again bounce, and the mean is sitting at 158.15, give or take. I do believe that this needs to happen for before FOMC. If it happens before FOMC, then we'll have a at least some direction as to which way we can take a trade. But of course, FOMC will change everything, and then we also will have eyes on VIX. Let's plot VIX. I am not going to go into just because it's FOMC, we will be range bound with almost everything. So don't want to get into Tesla because we charted Tesla yesterday, and just in case anybody wants to know what is Tesla going to do, Tesla will be range bound again within these numbers. Let's quickly plot that. Downside, this is still intact. The 860s and the 850 around here. So this is still intact. This number is still intact to the downside as a support, or the base case is here, 864, and then the support would come in at around 850 to 856. Should that break, probably a test of this number, 822. But not plotting nothing at this point beyond the 50 moving average. right about here. So it has solid support. And to the upside, this will remain intact. 930 to 940 range, this will remain intact. There's no not a lot of resistance between 911 and 940. So I think it's pretty much doable. And why is it stopping there? Right here. This is the reason. So yesterday it went till here and stopped here. And if today, if the same scenario happens, then I'm expecting a push into this number here, 935 to 945. That's the range I'm looking to hit. And if Apple starts to push, we will break that range and will start to move higher into about here, the mean 946. And should the push above from Apple continue, and if we break this, this will act as solid resistance right about here, the 50. And if it breaks there, then we're looking for a push into 959 to 960, and the mean is sitting at about 984. And this is a very real possibility post FOMC to the upside. Okay, and Apple is so my understanding is that whatever happens today at FOMC and whatnot, after that, I think Apple should resume its downward trajectory and push into this number, 150, and then probably the mean is sitting about 143. So I think the sooner this happens, the better for us. The market chop will be, kind of behind us after this. Apple pushes into 143 and something like that. So, and for now, not really looking for that number, but this is again a real possibility for Apple, 155. And it has been bouncing off of that range, off of that number. And I would really want to see this is to the downside. So I would want to see a push into this number, 155 or something like that, and a break below that number and test this number, 152. 152, yeah, give or take that number. So look for a bounce there. But to the downside, this is my base case, 155.42. And then a push into 152 would be really nice. I would really, really, really want to see that. But doesn't look like that's going to happen. I believe that today, post FOMC, the market would bounce. Don't hold me to that word, but that's how I want to, that's how my uh, that's how I think this will proceed post FOMC to the upside. And yeah, so right now, as of now, if you want to play Apple, this is what we're looking at, 159.36. This is exactly where it is sitting at. The 200 is acting as major support and resistance as of now. So if it breaks here to the upside, we're looking for 160.36. That would be my base case to the upside if it breaks the 200 on the daily. If not, if it starts a push down, and then I think it will continue its push down to 154, something like that, then this is where we are looking for that hit, 155.18, before it pushes down into further into this 152. Uh, so today's FOMC is hard to predict, not because of the technicals. It's because of we know 50 bips is coming, but how the market would react to that, that's another question. So 50 bips around whenever the let's say if Fed comes in below 50 bips, that's another thing, right? So how do you want to deal with that? So let's say if Fed goes above 50 bips, how do you want to deal with that? So yeah, how do I want to deal with that? Of course, I'll keep an eye on VIX. That's how I deal with every single thing, single point of control. And then we'll be looking at US 10-year, this thing. And if the 10-year if the 10-year has to spike, 10-year has to spike. There's no other way. And after the spike, if the 10-year starts to push back down, that's another issue. That's some recessionary shit that you want to deal with. But we'll deal with it whenever we want to deal with it later. Bitcoin is another thing that you want to be keeping an eye on throughout the day. What Bitcoin is telling these days is whether the environment is risk on or risk off. So whatever this is happening, I think Bitcoin should pump along with the markets, push into 39.87 and probably into 40. But if to the downside, if markets start to push down or in the Bitcoin start to push down, here it has made a nice base. But if it does start to push down, I want to see Bitcoin here, 36,390. This will happen to the downside. There's a very good chance to the downside, but right now here it has left its five, so I'm assuming it should catch up right till here. After that, we'll reassess the situation. That's Bitcoin. Uh, Now, the important one is VIX. This is what we're going to be watching throughout the day, or at least I'm going to be watching throughout the day. Looking for a test of to the upside, looking for a test of 3450, uh, around 3450 to 3520. That's the number that I'm looking to the upside. That would mean solid push down in today for the markets. And to the downside, and this is what we're looking at, 2813. This is on the weekly, and if it comes down in here, that means the market will kind of. I think this will happen before FOMC. 2813 will happen before FOMC, or at least 2820, something like that. So, and if it breaks there, we are looking for a push into 2712, and the mean is sitting all the way here at 2290 or 23. Not looking for that number just yet. We're looking for a push down into 2813 and probably a push down into 2713. Let's look at the same data on the daily chart. So we were looking for a push down yesterday into the 5 and into the 8, and this I believe should continue into this number in 21, around 2719. So this area would be a good bounce spot, but it would not go down in a straight line simply because it has support right here and then right here, 2784, then push back into 27. This is how I want to perceive how the VIX would go. So till FOMC, I am bearish on VIX. I'm not really bullish on the markets, but I am bearish on VIX. Immediate course of action for VIX, most likely, so 15 minutes is still pointing the upside and should clear here and should hit this number 2933. Not a big deal, but still, VIX, if it starts to push here, looks like there's momentum here, and it doesn't matter what the larger, what the bigger picture is, but because of the chop, I want to trade. I want to stay within the 15-minute, and the 1 hour chart is a chart that I follow for just about everything. So the 1 hour chart is telling me that it is oversold here. It looks like it's starting to make a comeback. And how do I want to see this happen? The 5 clears, then the hit of 8, 2933, and then a push into 2990. Right? There's a lot of resistance around this area. If it starts to push beyond this 2980, and there's 32 and 3050, and then you have 3070, there's a lot of resistance here. So to the upside, not really plotting anything beyond 2988, but if it does start to push, then we'll watch out for that. And during the post FOMC, if it actually pushes above 31, I'll be really surprised. And yeah, then it would be it would become a real possibility that it's going to go into that 35, 34s and 35s. So the super trend on the 4 hour is sitting about, where is that? Yeah, so this thing is still pointing down. So yesterday we were looking for a hit of this number, 2885. We got that. So let's see if we can bounce from here. Albeit ephemeral bounce. This is where it should be, 2986. And there's a lot of resistance around this number. I would want it to get rejected around here itself, 2980. Come back into this number, test that number, fail there, and start to push down into its 200 right about here. So that's how I want to see it, but doesn't matter what I want to see if it starts to kind of push back up, because right here the 8 or 8 below 21 is happening, and here is 8 below 21 happened on the VIX, right, all the way here on the 1 hour chart. So that is still intact. And it has left its 8 around 30, 21 around 30. So I think, till here, I think there's a good chance that VIX will catch up to its 21. But let's see. I am bearish on VIX, at least till FOMC. Rather, in the bigger scheme of things, I am bearish on VIX. I would want to see this continue into at least 27.77. So, but at the open, I think VIX will start to push up, and let's see if we can get a reject of VIX around here, 29.86 through 30.45. Let's see if that happens. If it rejects, then we'll go long the markets. But if it continues here to the upside, then we'll continue to short the markets. Uh, Not really going into individual stocks, but Apple, VIX, and SPX is what we'll be watching today. It wouldn't make sense to chart any other individual stocks right now simply because FOMC. Until FOMC, it will be a chop. Okay, let's see what the chart chat is saying. Chat ran. Oh, the chat really ran. What is the chat saying? I'm so lost. Anything I need to look at the chat? It's way too much for me to read right now.
I think it's a debate between Al and Lieberman
Yeah,
and
okay.
George.
You're aware that USA was the biggest importer of energy for 100 years. Nice. Actually, we transition into a service economy that will grow. Okay. We won't see the benefits of chip manufacturing for another 2 years. All right. So besides what we did on the charting side of things, anything else that you want to be? Do you want me to look at, or do you have any data points that we need to be looking at?
Doris, you would say it open to stay patient and watch the first 15, 30 minutes? Would that be your
Yes, I
advice?
would. I would. I think till then
Okay.
it would be a chop. Uh, FOMC, you can actually,
Yeah.
so let's try this today. Let's try something today. Let's look to see if we can. There's this some new indicator that I've gotten, and that indicator is plotting some lines and whatnot. So see if you can. I'll try to call out, scalps. When I say buy, just buy it. When I say sell, just sell it. Don't look at, any other data. Just do market or something like
Okay.
that. If we want to try that, we can try that.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, I think we did not plot SPX, the thing that we wanted to plot.
No, we didn't. And we have 6 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be real quick with that. Where is that? Let's change the window. Screen three. All right, so SPX, I'm not really expecting again a big range, any big move before FOMC. This should be the range that it should stick with. 4180 to the upside and to the downside is 4160. So this is the range that it should stick within for till FOMC at least. And then probably let's see to the upside. Uh, this is acting as a solid resistance, 4200. If it clears there, then of course for this to happen, VIX needs to really come back into its 21 on the daily, and then we'll see a push above 4200. For now, I think this is a good to have. 4180 is, I think our base case should be somewhere around here. Where is that 1 hour chart? Right. So this should be our base case. The 200, or I think that's 100. 100 moving average on the, where is the 1 hour chart? Right, right here. So uh, this should be my base case to the upside, 4183, and to the downside, I think about here, 4160. This is the range I think it will be sticking to with for till FOMC happens, and then the 1 hour chart clearly says that there is a clear resistance around 4200, and that if that clears, then we'll look for a push above that. For now, 4200 is a good to have. Uh, and let's see in the bigger picture. Okay. Again, we tested this number yesterday, and I'm looking for a test of that again. But today it will be a good to have 4200, and then above that we'll look for a push into 4222. On any given it's slightly pushed down into VIX, I think will hit this number 4222. And this right here 4320 is a very good chance of that happening post FOMC to the upside. To the upside, there's a very good chance of this hitting 4300 today. And to the downside, uh, let's see. To the downside, these numbers are still very intact, and right about here is the mean on the monthly 4159. So to the downside, this is my monthly mean is my base case to the downside. Should that break, we are looking for a push into about 4100. And if that breaks, we're looking for a push down into 4020. Not really plotting this 4020 as of now. We're looking for a push, probably about 4160, 4150, that range. Then below that, we are looking for 4100. As of now, that is where 75 points to the downside. As of now, I'm not really plotting anything below that. But post FOMC, if it breaks here, and then if it breaks the lows of Friday, then we have a very good shot at 44,000 on SPX. Very, very, very good shot of that happening. 175 points to the downside. If Apple starts to break below that 150 threshold, 152 threshold, then you will see this happen today. And of course, not in a straight line. You will have bumps along the way, just like we had that around 4100 again, and then bounced off of that 4060 something around here. And this bounce was not based on what do you call SPX bounce. This was much rather from it came from IXIC. And yeah, I'll be alerting the queues during throughout the day. But for Nasdaq again, it's the same thing. The 8 is sitting at 12,598, so give or take 12,6. That's my base case to the upside, and then a good to have would be 12,700. Plotting nothing beyond that right now because FOMC again. But if it clears that, there's a very good shot of it hitting 1300 today. So 500 points to the upside, very possible for Nasdaq. All right. So that being said, let's stop this here and let's. Okay. And last thing, if Nasdaq starts to push down, then we are looking for a push into this number right about here, 11,800. 11,800 to the downside, but not really looking for a downside today because we have these gaps to fill. Right, it needs to go back into its five. Anyway, so 1 minute to the open. Good luck.
Market's open, buddy.
Yep. I'll catch you in Sanity.